Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 6th of April, now it's half past 11, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my channel in which I share latest updates on the news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment. But before I start, let me announce one change that I'm planning to make on this channel. It will only take a few minutes to explain what I mean. Because many of you did ask me to make short videos or to divide videos on different pieces, I'm gonna do exactly that. I will upload one main update on as I usually do, and after that I will divide this main update on smaller segments, and I will also upload that small videos. I hope it will make this channel a little bit more comfortable for you, because I do understand that not always one may have an hour, let's say, to watch update entirely, but he or she may find some 15, 20 or 30 minutes to watch some short version about topics that are interested for a particular person. So this way, I guess these changes will make channel more accessible and more interesting. So let's see how it will work out. By the way, I hope you will continue to support me and this project, because I definitely need your help. Because if you see yesterday's video, for example, I don't know what that is, shadow banning or what else, but I did notice that my videos have less and less views, and it's hard for me to explain. That's because my project is not interesting for people that were watching for a month or 2 months and now decide to move away, or it's a YouTube algorithm that did not show my videos to in recommendation. To make sure that you will see updates, you can click that bell next to like button. That should improve situation at least a little bit. I don't know how to deal with this situation really, but I can only hope that you will stay with my channel and in our community. So that's been said, let's talk about news now. And as I said, plenty of very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment. And because I decided to, after main video, make separate videos about different topics, I'm not gonna worry about length of this main update that much. So let's start now. And first news that I like to share with you, reported by TASS News Agency, according to which official from Zaporozhye region, Vladimir Rogov, stated that British main battle tanks Challenger 2 have already arrived in Zaporozhye direction. Let me show you on the map this area. So that's Zaporozhye direction here. And according to Rogov, these tanks will be used during the anticipated by many large-scale counteroffensive of Zelensky's regime in direction of Azov Sea. To be more exact, in direction of Melitopol, Berdyansk, possibly Mariupol, and also in Kherson region. So I did predicted this kind of development. I was saying for quite some time now that I don't believe that Zelensky's regime will be able to conduct large-scale counteroffensive in direction of Bakhmut and deblockade that city. But I was quite sure that Zelensky's regime will conduct or at least try to conduct large-scale counteroffensive in direction of Azov Sea, and all the military equipment that Zelensky's regime is receiving from the West will be used during this counteroffensive. And it seems like my prediction was correct, because now we have statements from officials that are confirming that Western main battle tanks did arrive in Zaporozhye direction. I believe it's not just Challenger 2s that are sent to this direction. I mean Zaporozhye. Leopard 2 tanks also probably are already in this area here. Possibly Leopard 1 tanks, even though officially we did not hear any information that Leopard 1s were delivered to Ukraine. I believe Germany did deliver Leopard 1 tanks in Ukraine, to Ukraine. And I have good reason to believe in that, because some sources in Russia that have some inside information did report that Zelensky's regime already received more than 100 Western-made battle tanks. And if we take into account only official statements, we may count 40-50 Western-made battle tanks, but not 100 or more. So that means that rest of the tanks should be Leopard 1s. So in my understanding, Zelensky's regime in direction of Zaporozhye now had concentrated about 100-150 Western-made battle tanks, and at least 200 to 300 Western-made armored personnel carriers, including MRAPs and Bradleys. And it's only a matter of days now, and we will see beginning of this counteroffensive. Probably everyone is seems like everyone is waiting for it, and you're gonna see some channels that already are making predictions. Some are pro-Ukrainian, some are pro-Russian. Me personally, I was saying from very beginning that Zelensky's regime is doomed to fail in all the directions, and they have no chances to establish control over this land bridge when it comes to Zaporozhye region, land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia. But yet again, time will tell. In my opinion, only way Zelensky's regime will be able to achieve any success during this announced counteroffensive is if Moscow will withdraw its forces from this land bridge, like it happened in Kharkov region and on the right bank of Kherson region, right bank of the Dnieper. But then situation was a little bit different. Now situation is well known for Russia, and I believe Russian armed forces are prepared to deal with any large-scale movement from Zelensky's regime. Anyway, I hope Moscow will not withdraw its forces in this region, because if Zelensky's regime will take control over this land bridge, it will have devastating effect on Russian society, and it may cause some destabilization inside Russia. So, me personally, I hope Russian side are ready. I hope Moscow will not withdraw forces from anywhere, because Moscow did have enough time to prepare for this announced counteroffensive. Let's continue now with some other news, and we have statement about yet another shelling of Melitopol. Zelensky's regime in preparation of this counteroffensive in direction of Azov Sea, almost on daily basis now are shelling Melitopol, and previous night was not exception. And according to TASS news agency, Russian air defense systems did shut down 6 HIMARS missiles in Melitopol direction. So that's Melitopol, by the way, almost in middle of this land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia. So, as I said, I hope Russian side is ready to repeal any counteroffensive of Zelensky's regime, and effectiveness of Russian air defense systems does creates hope that that's exactly the case, and Russian side truly are prepared. Let's continue with some other news. This is TASS news agency also, which is writing about publication in Reuters, according to which Ukrainian armed forces have now 40,000 stormtroops ready to conduct counteroffensive. Yet again, all those talks about counteroffensives now have shifted from Bakhmut direction to Zaporozhye direction, and because weather is improving little by little and the ground is becoming more and more usable for military equipment, I think it's matter of days now. It's matter of days, and we will see beginning of the counteroffensive. 40,000 stormtroopers. It's quite a force, but I don't think that's enough to achieve any success in any direction, really. Because territories are vast. It's a vast territories here we are talking about. Hundreds of kilometers. Yes, to cross this land bridge, it's only about 100 kilometers. 70, 80, 100 kilometers. But it's a wide place, and long-range artillery of Russian side will be able to destroy any large-scale grouping that will try to move in direction of Azov Sea. Any group that will try to do so will end up in crossfire of artillery, and not just artillery. So yet again, it's a crucial point probably in this conflict, because Bakhmut is already, we can say, under Russian control, because 80-90% of the town is controlled by Russian side. That's Bakhmut, by the way. And it's only a matter of days when PMC Wagner units will establish full control over this city. This pro-Ukrainian map is acknowledging now that most of the city is under Russian control. But if we see this other map, you will have a better understanding of situation. And according to this map, basically what is left under control of Zelensky's regime is the western part of the city. And same time, we did see some reports. We had some reports that Russian side is trying to establish control over the Bogdanovka here, this settlement, over the Khramove, which is right here. And if that's the case, then quite possible that these units that are in this western part of Bakhmut will be trapped entirely, will be encircled entirely. And when it comes to Bakhmut, we do have statements from Zelensky himself. And let me read it for you. So Zelensky, during his visit in Poland, he did make some statements about Bakhmut, and he said that if there will be danger of encirclement, full encirclement, they will save lives of soldiers and withdrawal forces. This is probably first time that Zelensky directly said that window is open for withdrawal of forces from Bakhmut, and I did see on Telegram channels many videos. It's hard to confirm when and where those videos were made, but according to some sources, some units of Ukrainian armed forces did start withdrawing from Bakhmut through fields and country roads that are still possible to use by Ukrainian armed forces, because those roads are under artillery fire control of Russian side, not direct control of Russian side. And as I said many times before, as I predicted, forces, Bakhmut garrison units that are fleeing Bakhmut are moving on foot. They cannot use military equipment, and they are moving on foot. It's not too big a distance from Bakhmut to Chisov Yar. It's only 10-11 kilometers, so it's only a matter of few hours to cross this opening between these two towns. But yet again, they are risking to become under fire, and I did saw just this morning videos when one of the units were trying to escape Bakhmut, and they become under direct fire, even not just artillery fire, but direct fire from Russian side, direct fire from small arms. That means machine guns and the rest of it. So maybe Zelensky will give orders to units that are trapped in this western part to withdraw today or tomorrow, or maybe he will sacrifice them like he already did sacrifice thousands and thousands of Ukrainian soldiers that die in Bakhmut already. Let's continue now. And Zelensky also made quite, not Zelensky, but his office. His officials did made a quite strange statement. Also, this is RIA Novosti's report, and according to presidential office of Zelensky, Kiev will be ready to talk about Crimea, about status of Crimea, when Ukrainian side will establish full control over the entire territory of Ukraine except Crimea. That means not just Kherson and Zaporozhye region, but also Donbass, DPR and LPR, and these kind of statements that shows you once again how out of touch Zelensky and his henchmen really are. Maybe they truly believe that they will be able to establish control over the territories that are under Russian control now. But they cannot be serious, or it's hard to believe that they are that much stupid. But they can be, who knows. But at least they are openly saying that there can be some negotiations about status of Crimea. Nothing like that was said before. So it's kind of something new in policy of Zelensky's regime. But yet again, as I said many times before, only way Zelensky's regime will be able to succeed in establishing control over this land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia is if Moscow will withdraw forces for some strange reasons. I hope this will not happen, because it may destabilize Russia internally, and no one in good mind should want to see destabilization of Russia. Let's continue now, and we have still RIA Novosti's report, according to which John Kirby, this White House official, did made statements about Ukraine once again, and he said that Washington is not against if Zelensky's regime will conduct strikes with the using of with the U.S. weapons on territories that U.S. recognize as Ukraine. Same time, Washington is against. Washington at least not pushing Zelensky's regime. That's at least what officials are saying, US officials, that Washington is not encouraging Zelensky's regime to strike on Russian soil. But yet again, it's becoming more and more difficult to take seriously these individuals. John Kirby, who the hell is John Kirby, man? This stupid idiot, really. I mean, it's hard to comment on that kind of crazy statements, because Crimea is a part of Russia. Who cares what US did recognize or not? Crimea is a part of Russia. Donbass is a part of Russia. Kherson region and Zaporozhye region, they are part of Russia. That's what the Russian constitution said. That's what people decide, people that live in those regions. And who the hell is Kirby or anybody else in not just in US but in the world to tell Russians where Russian borders are lying? Let's continue now, and but yet again, these kind of statements is one more step towards escalation, because basically White House is giving red light for Zelensky's regime to use long-range weapons that US provide to Zelensky, to use those long-range weapons to strike deep inside Russian territory, and that means that Russia will retaliate one way or another, today or after 5 years. But Russia will remember this and will retaliate. And US citizens should know that their elites, it's their elites that are endangering US military all around the world, and US citizens, just all of them. It's US elites that are endangering US citizens everywhere. Let's continue now. Let's continue, because Russia will be forced, and Russia is forced already, to retaliate. And as you see, just recently there were some attacks on US bases in Syria, and I believe that was only beginning. That was only beginning. And US interests all around the world will be under pressure more and more as time goes by. It's just obvious. That's what current Washington administration is provoking. Let's continue now, and this is still RIA Novosti's report about this strange situation that happened yesterday in Bryansk region of Russian Federation. Some light plane, civilian light plane, crashed in Bryansk region, and FSB did arrest a pilot who had on him a machine gun, some small arms, and according to interrogation, I did share a video on my Telegram channel, by the way. It's on Russian, but according to statements of that pilot, he is a civilian, and he was told to fly in as a wingman, so that it must be two planes. One did manage to reach destination, but this pilot that ended up in Russia is saying that he didn't know destination. He was wingman and flying alongside leading plane. Some very crazy story, really. Some very crazy story, and he's supposed to make some pictures or something like that, which is in era of drones, don't really makes any sense to fly and make pictures with photo apparat. So he was arrested by FSB, and probably we will learn some more about this strange accident. When I first time heard this information, I was thinking maybe this is some kind of attempt to repeat story with the Rust German. It was German pilot, if I'm not mistaken, who did landed on Red Square using some light plane. Probably you all are familiar with this story. That happened in the last years of Soviet Union, and when I heard that some light plane did crashed in Bryansk region, that was my first first thinking that maybe someone did attempt to do something like that, to fly low and maybe reach Moscow, maybe even Red Square. Who knows? But story is definitely quite strange one. But today or tomorrow probably we'll have some more information from Russian investigation, and I will share information with you. Let's continue now, and once again, Zelensky, as you know, he was in Poland yesterday, and he did make quite strange statements. I did share a few of them already, and he also talked about relationships between Poland and Ukraine, and he said that there will be no borders between, fairly soon, there will be no borders between Ukraine and Poland, and this message was not really well received in Ukraine, especially among nationalists, because Ukrainian Nazis, they hate not just Russians, but they hate Polish people also. And probably you know story of beginning of this movement, neo-Nazi movement in Ukraine, and for example, hero of those neo-Nazis, Bandera, and henchmen of Bandera, they killed not just Russians, not just Jews, but they killed about 100,000 Poles, civilians. So they hate Polish people, and they did not receive this message of Zelensky well. But if we take this statement from different rabbis, we may say that Zelensky probably right, because there will be no Ukraine after this conflict will end. Probably there will be no state Ukraine left. Majority of modern Ukraine will be under Russian control, and the rest of it, especially western regions, probably will end up under control of Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, and Romania. That's what we're gonna see. So definitely there will be no borders between Poland and Ukraine, because there will be no Ukraine as a state no more. So that's my take, at least, on this strange statement. And now, if I may, I will promote my channel a little bit. Dear friends, I'm very grateful for your attention and support. And if you think this channel, because our channel is growing little by little, but our channel is growing, and we have more and more members in our small community, I had to address this topic on daily basis, because that's the way it works, really. All independent channels are all independent channels have to be heavily dependent on subscribers. So if you think this channel is interesting, useful, has some potential, and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, or subscribe to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box. And of course, I will be very grateful for your help. So that being said, I'm not really ready for question time today. Or no, I do remember one of you did ask me about T-14s tanks, main battle tanks, Russian newest battle tanks. I did answer yesterday in the comment, but a few days earlier I was also asked about T-14s and the Su-57 5th gen fighter jets, and I will share what I know about those tanks and planes. So T-14s, they are not deployed on the front line. There were some rumors. It's Armata. That's the name of platform, Armata, and Armata tanks are not deployed on the front line, even though there were some rumors that Russian side did send a few of them on the battlefield. I did not see any video or photo confirmation of that. And as I understand, Armata tanks don't even finish yet military trials. I may be wrong on this. I may not remember correctly, but I think those tanks are not yet finished their testing entirely. But yet again, I'm quite sure none of them were sent to frontline, at least for now. When it comes to Su-57, 5th gen fighter jets, we did have some reports on different Telegram channels and even on official media that Su-57s are quite active, and they may even have some air-to-air kills. But yet again, because this plane is top secret and information about these planes are mostly classified, we don't really have enough information in open sources to say how effective those planes were and what kind of operations they did conduct. But as I understand, they were active not just in air combat, but also they did targeted some ground targets. So Su-57s are gaining some battle experience, but Armata tanks, no. Most modern Russian tank that are involved in this conflict is 1090M, and you can recognize that tank with different turret. As you know, all other Russian tanks have some oval turret, but 1090M has prolongated turrets, so you will easily recognize whenever you see it on videos or on photographs. Let's continue now, and this is TASS News Agency's report, according to which Greece will not supply or not deliver to Ukraine Leopard 2A6 tanks that it has in its inventory. And this is, in one hand, this is good news, because I don't want to see any moves from Greece or Russia that will make even more difficult relationships between the countries. But same time, Greece already did send some military equipment to Zelensky's regime. Greece did recognize this sect that was created in Ukraine and by CIA and the State Department of US, and Greece recognized that sect, those criminals, as a canonic church, which is unbelievable. It's just unbelievable, man, what Greek did. Greek religious authorities. I don't understand why they did it, but they clearly support those criminals, and probably they will regret it now, because during the previous days there were so many reports that those sectants burning down Orthodox churches of Ukrainian Orthodox Church, which is canonic one. And they were targeting churches, monasteries, they are targeting religious people, and they are now trying to establish control over the Kievo-Pecherskaya Lavra, which is a holy place for Orthodox Christians. So yes, Greek side did its best to destroy relationships with Russia, to be honest. But I hope at least now they will realize But it's not the really right way to move forward. And if that's the case, then even though Ukraine's defense minister will visit Greece now today, if I'm not mistaken, I hope Greece will deny to deliver any weapons to Zelensky's regime. And Zelensky wants not just Leopard 2 tanks, he wants air defense systems from Greece, including S-300s that were delivered by Russia to Greece. And basically, if you ask Zelensky, he wants all military equipment that Greece has. Just everything. Jet fighters, tanks, air defense systems, that's just everything. Which is, crazy. So I hope Greece will distance itself from Zelensky's Nazi regime, and that will be, that will be seen by Moscow, I'm sure, as a move to, at some point in the future, re-establish some good relationships between the sides, because that's the right way to go, basically. Let's continue now, and this is quite interesting news. RIA Novosti is reporting that almost 50% of field artillery and artillery pieces that West did send to Ukraine were destroyed by Lancet kamikaze drones. It calls изделие 51, изделие 51-52, that's изделие 51-52. You probably more familiar with name of Lancet, and you probably see many videos where Lancets are targeting especially artillery of Zelensky's regime, not just field artillery but also self-propelled howitzers. And according to this information, since the beginning of this year, Zelensky's regime lost about 100 artillery systems, and 45% of them were destroyed by Lancets, which clarifies information that we basically already know, that this system, this drone system, is truly effective. It may not be that effective against heavily armored vehicles like tanks, but against lightly armored systems, they are very effective indeed. Let's continue now, and RIA Novosti is reporting that Putin and Lukashenko will conduct, let me translate this for you. So Putin and Lukashenko will hold a meeting of the Supreme State Council of the Union State. Some of you may don't know that Russia and Belarus has a union state, and under this union state, integration has been conducted by two sides, integration in all terms, in economical, social, military, in all terms. And Lukashenko did visit Moscow. He is in Moscow today. He visited Moscow yesterday afternoon, that his visit has started, and today they will conduct this meeting of the Supreme State Councils of the Union State, and it's interesting what kind of statements they will make after this meeting. I believe there will be no surprises. Belarus will stay out of this conflict. At least Belarusian forces, military forces, will stay out of this conflict for some time, at least before Western states will enter, or NATO member states will enter this conflict openly. And this will happen, definitely. I'm quite sure at least Poland will definitely send its troops in Ukraine, at least in Ukraine. And I did spoke about this many times before. And once this will happen, if Warsaw did not ask Moscow permission to establish control over the western parts of Ukraine, and if Polish troops will even enter direct conflict with the Russian side, then Belarus probably will enter in this conflict. Let's continue now. TASS news agencies report that Chinese Foreign Ministry made a statement that Taiwan is first red line that China is officially putting forward to USA. As you know, Taiwanese high-ranking official was in USA, and maybe she's in USA still. And China is not happy about it, and we have statements now from Foreign Ministry of China that Taiwan is a red line, and everyone should stay away from internal issues of China, and because Taiwan is a part of China, this message directed especially to the USA. I don't think Washington will listen, but at least we have now formally a statement from China that Taiwan is a red line, and now any day, any Washington's move in direction of Taiwan, Beijing may interpret as involvement in internal issues, and probably there will be some retaliatory measures. Let's continue now, and that's funny, man. When this clown leave NATO, I mean Stoltenberg, man, he's on daily basis making some crazy statements, and yes, it's laughable, but I mean, how long is this craziness going to continue? I mean, questions are rising. So, head of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, said that NATO warning China. NATO is warning China to stay away from conflict in Ukraine and not supply Russia with weapons. This is RT's report, by the way, and these kind of statements we did hear many times before. Unfortunately, we don't have yet confirmed information that China did send some weaponry to Russia. That's unfortunate, because I was thinking that after Xi Jinping's visit, in a week or 2 weeks' time, China will probably start supplying Russia with military equipment and ammunition. It did not happen, unfortunately. And yes, we can laugh about Stoltenberg and his statements, or about similar statements that some other Western high-ranking officials are making. But it seems like China truly cares. That's how I interpret this. China truly cares to, stand with Russia. And not surprising, because if that's the case, if China truly afraid, then they are done, basically. China is finished. So if we don't see Chinese military equipment in Russia in coming days, I will say that days of China as a major superpower, at least in the Pacific region, are numbered. Because Western elites will deal with China easily. Just easily, though. And fairly soon. Because if China cannot stand its ground, if China is afraid to support Russia, then what kind of superpower China truly is? Or is it superpower even? It's a question, man. It's a question, because I mean, we all do perceive China as a kind of next generation superpower, but in reality, China may be a paper tiger after all. You know, at least I am personally quite upset that Beijing is not supporting Russia militarily. I'm quite upset about it, and not just me. Probably Russian officials also are not really happy with Chinese, how China is conducting itself. And probably you remember that Chinese ambassador in EU just a few days ago on one of the interviews in one of the TV stations, if I'm not mistaken, did openly say that China is not strategic partner of Russia, and China is not supporting Russia, and never said that China will support Russia. And he was very anti-Russian and Russophobic in his statements, man. I was quite surprised to see that kind of statements from Chinese officials. So, I may change my attitude towards China. And I have good reasons for that, because if China stays out in these difficult times for Russia, and if China will not support Russia, then I will not support China either. When Western elites will come to China or come to for China, and let them destroy China then. Who cares, really? That's my approach. If they are not our friends, then we don't care. That's my take, man. I never trusted China anyway, but now I have more and more reasons to be distrustful towards China. So let's continue now, and this is TASS News agency's report that U.S. according to Pentagon official press spokesman of Pentagon Sabrina Singh, M1A1 Abrams tanks probably will be delivered to Kiev, to Zelensky's regime, before end of this year. So it's too long really, and we did have some information that Pentagon did already allocated about $30 million, some 27 or 28 million or a little more, about $30 million to the military company from military industrial complex exactly for these tanks. So M1A1 tanks will be ready to deploy to Ukraine, but in my understanding, we dealing here with some kind of deception operation, because Zelensky's regime needs all the equipment that it can get right now, before this anticipated by many spring counteroffensive, because in 3-5 months time we may not see Zelensky's regime no more. In 3-5 months time this conflict may be over, so there will be no need to send any tanks to Zelensky's regime. So that's why I think maybe this is some kind of deception operation, and quite possibly these M1A1 tanks already are in Europe somewhere, and they will go through some maintenance and then will be delivered to Ukraine in coming weeks, probably. In coming weeks. Or maybe even days. They are old tanks, M1A1, and they're not gonna change much on the front line, that's obvious, but still, if US truly intends to deliver those tanks to Ukraine, it's they will be delivered now, not before end of the year, because towards end of this year, this conflict probably will be finished. So let's see, maybe in few days or few weeks time, we will see Abrams tanks also on the battlefield. Let's continue now, and yes, yet again, this is TASS News Agency's report, and same official from White House, John Kirby, did made statement that Washington don't see for now that China is delivering to Russia any military equipment or any military assistance. And that's true, I don't see it either, and no one does. And that's a problem, really, because what kind of partner China is. It raises, questions have been raised, isn't it? At least I have a question. What kind of partner China is then for Russia if in these difficult times Beijing is taken away from Russia? So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to become anti-Chinese or something. I don't want it, but if China will stay away from this conflict, then I will definitely change my attitude towards China, and I will support any Western actions that will destroy China. That's what I will do, man. Personally. Because, if they are not with us, then they are against us. That's how it is. Let's continue now. And this is Kommersant News agencies reporting that there were some more clashes in Israel between Israelis and Palestinians, and there were some clashes in Al-Aqsa Mosque also, and people were forced to leave Al-Aqsa Mosque and surrounding territory, and some devastating news really is coming from Israel and Palestine. I hope these clashes will end today, right now, because it's not good, man. Not for none of the sides. And the leaders of communities should try to build some bridges between the sides, man. Not to destroy all the means of communication or all the chances to communicate with each other, and it's horrible what is happening. It's just horrible. And by the way, I want to ask all of you, when you are commenting about some difficult issues, please always do it with respect towards sides, especially when it comes to Israeli and Palestinian conflict. Please, guys, I don't want to delay any comments or anything like that, but let's be respectful always whenever we are talking about people. We can criticize statesmen as much as we like, and politicians and public figures. That's, no questions about that. But when we are talking about societies, we should always be respectful. And yes, we can be critical, but even in this critique, we should be respectful. Always. Because there is no good and bad people. There are good and bad persons everywhere in all the societies, isn't it? So yes, my hope is that situation will be stabilized today, and these clashes will not provoke some bigger conflict between the sides and huge escalation. Let's hope so. Let's continue now, and this is RIA Novosti's report, according to which Iran and foreign ministers of Iran and Saudi Arabia did meet each other in China. Well, even though I'm not happy about Chinese policy right now when it comes to military support of Russia, I have to admit that in terms of diplomacy and on the world stage, they are truly successful, at least for now. And once again, this was a big success for China when they managed to bring together Saudi Arabia and Iran, and this continues. And Riyadh and Tehran in fairly in near future probably will establish diplomatic relationships, which is great, great for Middle East, which is great for Iran and Saudi Arabia, and this is great development for entire world, because we all should be happy whenever anything good is happening anywhere in this world, isn't it? So let's continue now, and that's quite interesting also. US is not stopping to try to destabilize Georgia, not stopping its attempts to destabilize Georgia, and this is RT's report that US did sanction 4 Georgian judges, and those judges were blacklisted, visa blacklisted basically. They will not be able to receive US visas. As I understand, this is first time when Washington is making open steps against Georgia. And there were some demonstrations in Tbilisi. As I understand, against this decision of USA, some protests. I don't see video material. I don't know how big those protests were, but I believe that Georgian society is truly waking up now and truly understands that US is not ally of Georgia and never have been. US elites, I mean. They did use Georgia in 2008 to provoke conflict with Russia and to start demonizing Russia. And they are trying to use Georgia against Russia again right now. And that's why they are trying to destabilize Georgia and push this regime change narrative. But, I have to applaud current Georgian government. They are managing to neutralize, at least for now, they are quite successful in managing of neutralizing this US attempt to make from Georgia second front against Russia. So I hope that will stay. It will stay this way, and we will not see any conflict between Georgia and Russia, because enough, man, it's enough. Western elites and Western puppets in Georgia create enough problems already between two countries. And it will take years and maybe decades to deal with those problems. So we don't need any more difficulties in the relationships. But yet again, that's a confirmation, isn't it? That's a confirmation that US is an enemy of Georgia, basically. US elites are enemy of Georgian society. And they are actively involved in the attempt to destabilize Georgia and use Georgia and sacrifice basically Georgia by provoking conflict between Georgia and Russia. I was saying this for how long now? For decades. But it's becoming more and more obvious for citizens in Georgia, and that's a good development, I believe. So this is RIA Novosti's report. This is quite interesting news in my opinion. So Azerbaijan's secret services and security services did neutralize some group that was trying to conduct some armed coup in Azerbaijan, and let me translate this for you. This news is we may learn during the day some more information, but this is new information, just breaking news. So Azerbaijani security forces uncovered the criminal group that planned to create a Sharia state. The State Security Service, the Interior Ministry, and the Prosecutor General's office said in a joint statement. So this group that was neutralized were planning to conduct some coup. There is no specific information really how many people were in this group, from which country they were receiving some support or money, or there are many questions. For now we only know that there was some group that was planning to create from Azerbaijan religious state, and now Azerbaijan is a secular state, with secular society, and it's interesting development, really interesting development. I'm interested if Iran has something to do with this, or Iranian Azerbaijanis, because as you know, millions and millions of ethnic Azerbaijanis are living in Iran, and maybe they were somehow involved in this process. I don't know. That's my guess, man. That's my guess. Let's continue now, and this is also very important development. RIA Novosti's report here about incident that happened yesterday night. Security forces in Ingushetia, that's northern Caucasus region of Russian Federation, that's no Republic of Ingushetia. Security forces, police did try to arrest some individuals that were, there's some information that they may be terrorists that conduct attack on police. About a week ago in North Ossetia, Alania Republic, and there was some shootout between police and those criminals and terrorists, and 3 policemen were killed during this shootout, and we have information that those terrorists managed to flee area, so they've not been arrested yet. I did share a video of that shootout on my Telegram channel. It was quite a gunfight, and I'm surprised that these terrorists managed to flee area. But that's information that we are getting. And secret services and police are continuing to conduct an operation to neutralize those terrorists. But yet again, if you remember, about a month ago, maybe a month and a half, Russian secret services did make a statement that US is training in its military bases in Syria. US secret services are training terrorists and are planning to send them in Russia to destabilize Russia. And it's only a month and a half since that statement, and now we have seen that almost on weekly basis there is some terrorist attacks and gunfights in northern Caucasus region. and it's waiting. This development is definitely worries me, and not just me, I'm quite sure, and I hope Russian police and secret services will deal with this issue fairly soon, so that they will be calm and stability in Northern Caucasus regions and everywhere in Russia. But quite possible that quite possibly these terrorist attacks have something to do with the US secret services. That's what I want to say. And by the way, yesterday Putin did stated that US secret services are openly involved in terroristic activities of Zelensky's regime on Russian territory. That was said by Putin yesterday openly. So yet again, when we are approaching step by step, we are approaching point of no return in relationships between Russia and the USA. And who knows what kind of development, what will be happened next, where we will end up if Washington, Biden's administration will continue this anti-Russian policy. It's dangerous. So let's continue now. A few news about some economical topics, and this is it for this update. And we have information here. This is TASS News Agency is reporting that owner of Zara brand will open shops and will operate in Russia under the name of Mag, Dab, Ekru, and Violet. So that's once again shows you that many brands that formerly left Russia are trying to somehow hold on the Russian market, and one of the ways that they are trying to do so is creating some new names and selling their products under the new brands. Because after all, Russia is a quite big market, isn't it? 150 million people. It's maybe it's not billion like in China or 1.5 billion, but still it's a big country with huge society. I mean Russia, and all the companies now probably are having all the companies that left Russia now are having some trouble in terms of finances, and many of them are trying to return or hold on for Russian market. And we have information. Next news is RIA Novostis report about approximately amount of money that Western companies that left Russia lost. And we are talking about brands in this case, and some famous brands that left Russia lost about $2 billion in last few months since all this anti-Russian campaign have begun. So quite an amount, isn't it? $2 billion. You're not gonna find $2 billion on the corner somewhere, isn't it? So that's why it's quite understandable that these kind of stories are emerging when brands are creating some quasi-independent companies, and under their name are selling their products just to hold on Russian market. And this is going to be last news for today's update. according to which, and this is RBK news agency, by the way, and this is about Russian ruble. As I predicted, exchange rate of Russian ruble and US dollar now is 80 to 1. So Russian ruble did reach this point. It's 80 rubles now for $1. Well, this was expectable. Unfortunately, even though this kind of development, low ruble, is good for low exchange rate for ruble is good for big business and to fill up the federal budget. This kind of if it continues, and it will, in my understanding, and ruble will weaken even more in coming months, it will provoke inflation. Weaker ruble will become more difficult. It will be to somehow influence inflation numbers and to stabilize prices. But yet again, for now, it seems like for financial leadership of Russia, priority is big business and budget, to fill up budget, not inflation. Maybe they are thinking that they can deal with inflation, but I don't think so. Prices are rising quite rapidly, really. But yet again, it's surprising that ruble did stand for so long under thousands and thousands of sanctions that West did impose on Russia. So yes, as I said before, man, before end of this year, we may see 90 rubles for a dollar, maybe 100 or even more. That's the way it is. So this is it for now. And if you find this video interesting, informative, please hit that like button. Leave some commentary about any topic you like, and if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. It will greatly increase my chances to somehow deal with this extremely hostile algorithm of YouTube. And if you can and if you want to, you can support with small donations through PayPal or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box. So yes, this is it for now. Have a nice day and take care.